Tom Davis's amendment. Since you guys have already gone on record to invoke closure for that bill, basically ending the debate, saying, man, we're ready to vote for this thing, I think it's perfectly logical that I would ask you guys to co-sponsor S1164, which is, or 46, the bill that is a standalone of the Davis Amendment. And if you could consult with Senator Larry Martin, the Judiciary Chairman that the bill is assigned to ask him that what if he also voted for closure, what is the purpose of spending meaningless time in a committee when you guys were already ready to vote for it? I would ask that you would do that, and I also would like to ask the representatives if you would support the companion bill, because essentially the House Bill 3101, the teeth in the enacting language, was anti-commandeering as it passed the House, which is only the same mechanism that is employed in the Senate. I would like to hear if you guys would also like to pledge to sponsor H.R. 4979.
The 3101 came through the House Judiciary Committee the first time. And if you remember, the first bill put federal judges in jail and that sort of thing. And we rewrote the bill in the House, which had four basic tenets. One was there was no state exchange, which I believe was also in the Davis Amendment. Another one was that there was a tax deduction for someone who violated the individual mandate and got hit by the federal government for a tax. It was a tax deduction, and it cost, I think, was estimated it would cost about $1 million a year for the state to afford those people a tax deduction. That's certainly the state's free to do whatever it wants to with its tax system. The other thing the bill did was it prevented the federal government from using state employees to do unwanted home visits or anything else the state chose not to let the federal government use our employees to enforce their law. And the last thing it did, and the most objectionable thing it did to Blue Cross Blue Shield, was it allowed the South Carolina Attorney General to bring an injunction in state court against any entity that was harming our citizens, i.e. rationing panels or death panels. There was no money damages. It was, in state court, according to state law. Of course, I see, although Senator Davis called our bill unconstitutional and persuaded everybody else it was unconstitutional, I don't know how it was unconstitutional.
I agree.
No state exchange was the same in his bill. A tax deduction, which we're fully able to offer our citizens a tax deduction for anything we want to offer them. We're certainly able to control our employees, and if the federal government wants to enforce their law with their employees, they can, but we don't have to help them.
That's right.
And the last thing was the injunction. What's wrong with letting the South Carolina Attorney General bring an action to enjoin, not the federal government, but Blue Cross Blue Shield in South Carolina, who is going to manage the death panels and the rationing panel? What is wrong with that? What is unconstitutional about that? In any event, that was the bill that we wrote in the House, which was called the fake bill, until one of the constitutional scholars came down, who allegedly was going to speak for the original bill, which Senator Davis championed on the State House steps, the one where you could put federal judges in jail and federal employees in jail for enforcing Obamacare. But when he came down, the constitutional lawyer, I believe his name was Masterson, who was a graduate of Washington Lee and has offices in Kentucky and Washington, he said our bill was a good bill, but that he couldn't support this other bill. And so that's where it went over to the Senate, and Senator Davis employed the same theory that we did, which is the same theory that the state of Colorado with their marijuana laws, the sanctuary cities, all those people say, federal government, we're not going to enforce your drug laws, we're not going to enforce your illegal immigration laws. If you want to enforce them, you can enforce them yourself. Which I feel that the state of South Carolina is free to do that. We don't have to enforce laws that we didn't make. But anyway, I'm for that. And I can support the Davis Amendment. I don't have a problem with that. did have a problem with was him calling our bill unconstitutional.
I agree.
What was unconstitutional about what I just said? You know, but sure, if it makes it, it's not in judiciary now because we're dealing with ethics and several other bills, and it's gone to LCI where it went the first time, but the LCI chairman thought it was a potato too hot to handle. It did have some constitutional issues in it, like putting federal judges in jail and federal employees in jail. So, you know, they sent it to the lawyer, judiciary committee, we have it. And in any event, it's a good idea, but, you know, I don't think the federal government would take kindly toward that. So, you know, sure, I'll support Mr. Davis's bill if it gets out of LCI and comes to the House floor.
Everything he said, yes.
We could debate that all night long, and I have it at home tonight. We're not gonna start having it.
Good question right here.
Ryan O'Black, Rockville, South Carolina. I was wondering, this is for Senator Hayes, what methods are you willing to take to bring the Common Core bill to the floor? As you know that the state of South Carolina, they just had fielded the Smarter Balance test for the Common Core, and there are obviously political bias parts of it. I didn't personally take the test, but I've heard certain parts of it from other people who did take it.
Okay.
And there are a few things in there that are questioned.
Yeah, thank you. You asked, how are we going to get the bill to, it is on the floor. The question is how we're going to get it up for debate. That's going to be the battle. And actually, there's two bills, and there's a third one in committee. There's a 300, which is the Senator Groom's bill. That's just a straight up do away with Common Core. There's 888, which was Senator Campson's bill from Charleston, which basically said we're not going to expand any more testing, etc. Did not go to complete ban of Common Core. And then there's the compromise that came out of committee that was placed on both of those bills by way of an amendment. But there's a bill in committee that is strictly the compromise. And the reason there's a bill in committee strictly the compromise is there's a possibility when the bill comes up for debate that we're running into the same problem that Obamacare ran into. The Lieutenant Governor could hold the amendments as non-germane, probably will, and we'll be back with the original bills. Now, the 300, that would probably suit a lot of people in the room to be back to the original bill. But the problem we have with that, the initial problem is to get 300 up for debate, you've got to have 32 votes in the Senate. That means you've got to have 4 Democrats if all 28 Republicans vote for it. We don't have 1 Democrat yet. That's the biggest problem we run into. And so right now, both special orders are taken up, but we're going to try to get Common Core in the next special order. But the effort we've got to make is to find something that we can get the Democrats to support. There are some possible other ways to get around that. One is for the House to find a Senate bill or a House bill that's been sent back to pass the Senate and come back to the House that's germane, that they could amend to put Common Core on that bill. Then it possibly will go to conference committee, etc. That's one possibility. Or we could try to deal with it in the budget. That's how the school choice issue was taken up as far as school tax credits for special needs children. That's done in the budget. A lot of things have been done in the budget by way of proviso. So there's things we can do if we don't get the 32 votes. But to get 300 or any bill up for debate in the Senate, you've got to have some Democratic support. And right now, we don't have any. It was frankly amazing to get the bill, any bill, out of committee in the Education Committee. But we were able to do it. But as I recall, I don't think there's a Democrat that voted for it in committee either. There was one that voted for it in subcommittee. But when it came to the final vote in the full committee, I don't know that we had any. So that's the biggest hurdle right now. don't have quite enough Democrats to control the agenda, quite enough Republicans to control the agenda without getting some help from the Democrats. And I hate to be in that position, but that's where we are in the Senate right now.
Well,
This follow-up there.
Yeah.
you said you could vote on provisos to cut off funding for Common Core initiatives. Can you do that? Will you do that?
We can do that, and I think that's probably where we're gonna have to do it on the Senate floor. You'll do something on the Common Core on the Senate floor. That's probably the only option we're gonna have unless the House can find a bill to do it. Would be by way of the budget.